Hi, this is David Ames, and in this video I'm going to give you a brief overview of Module 1 for the 8th grade English curriculum. If you want to expand this window to full screen, you can do so by clicking on the button in the bottom right, but please don't click on the YouTube button. We're starting you from your eLearning homepage, and the first thing you're going to do is go to ELA K-12 curriculum and click on View. On the left, you're going to have appearing all the different grade levels. And of course, we're going to go and select grade 8. The very first item in grade 8 is the grade 6 through 8 curriculum plan. Even though we're not going to work with it, I just want to show you a few navigational things. If you need to see more of the menu that's on the left of your screen or less, you can control the size of this window by clicking on the tiny little triangle there in the middle and dragging the vertical bar to wherever you want it to be. The PDF file which we have open right now, you can control. If you take your pointer and drag down on the screen, a pop-up menu is going to appear, and of course you could save this file to your disk. You could create a printed copy of it. The up and down arrows navigate you through the different pages, as does this window, which if you know the page you want to enter, you just put in the number, and the minus and plus signs control the size of your window. If you want to, once you've expanded it, move around on the page, you simply use your cursor, which is now a tiny little hand, to drag up or down to where you'd like to be. Okay, we're going into the document now, New York State Grade 8 ELA Curriculum Map. This is a great document because it sets out for you the entire year. I'm going right now to page 4, and I'm going to expand it a little. You see that over the course of the year, you're going to be working in 4 modules, Module 1, 2A, 3A, and 4. And you see the focus and the module title as well as the description of each. Module 1 is Finding Home Refugees, and the focus of Module 1 is Reading Closely and Writing to Learn. Module 1, like every module, is comprised of 3 units. It involves 7 assessments, 6 of which are at the unit level, and 1 is a final performance task. Going down a little bit to page 6. Page 6 shows you what the primary texts are that you're working with in this unit. In bold, you see The Vietnam Wars by Todd Olson, and Inside Out and Back Again by Tina Lai. This novel is your primary text for the module. You'll notice all of these other informational texts, though. They are very important, and many of the lessons and activities work with these other texts. You can also see here the lexile level of each of them. Some of them are rather complex. Since we're talking about text, I want to point out for you something that eLearning offers you that I think is great. When they have been putting together the information for us on eLearning, they have gone through and they have found the articles that are worked with throughout the course of each module, and they have pulled them out and put them in easy to find places. So if I go into Module 1, into Unit 1, Articles and Resources, I have excerpted for me here The Vietnam Wars, the article, which is first used in Lesson 6, and the transcript of Forgotten Ship, which is first used in Lesson 13. If I go into Unit 2, Articles and Resources, the same thing. I have all of these secondary sources gathered together for me. I think this is great because there are so many things that you need to photocopy as a part of this curriculum to be able to work with these articles in advance, send them to print shop, and then have them ready when your students get to them is a great, it just makes it so much easier. I also want to caution you that because so many of these articles are used not just in one lesson but in multiple lessons, that you make sure you develop a system whereby your students can maintain and keep up with the different articles and the different materials. So having them set up a classroom folder that never leaves your room, or a homework binder that goes home and comes back every day, a 3-ring binder, please make sure that they're going to maintain them and they're not just going to wind up in the hall or in a garbage can, because they will need to return to them again and again. Because we've already opened up some of these folders on the left, I want to show you something else here that I think is great that eLearning offers you. If you go into Module 1, Unit 2, RCSD Suggested Scaffolds, you have lessons that are the Common Core curriculum lessons, but they have additional scaffolds that are recommended for English language learners. These are in Word documents. I'm going to open one for you. And the suggested scaffolds are in red ink. If you look at them, some of them are things that you could use for any student. I think they're great resources to use, and as you're working on differentiating assignments, why not use some of these things that are recommended? Many of them are going to make your life easier. Okay, we're going to turn well, as long as I'm on the subject, I want to point out too that if you go to Module 1, Unit 1, War, Coming Close to Home, and open it up, you're going to have a 190-page Acrobat PDF file that has all of Unit 1 in it. Likewise, if you go to Unit 2, Why Do People Flee Home, you're going to have a huge document that's got all of the lessons, all of the activities in it. Personally, I find this unwieldy, and I'm not fond of working with PDF files sometimes. You also have in eLearning, though, a zip file. And if you download this zip file, you're going to have all the lessons individually presented in files in Word documents. I like using Word documents because they're easy to modify. I can't modify PDF files, but Word documents, if I decide my students need more space in a graphic organizer that I want to use, it's easy for me to make that change. If I decide that I don't want to ask my children to provide as many examples as the Common Core curriculum had, I can make that change easily. If I decide I want to include a visual to go along with the activity, I can insert that as well. Okay, we're going to go right back up to the Grade 8 ELA curriculum map right now. We talked about the 7-unit assessments. The 7th is not unit level, but it is a performance task that is a final task. With Module 1, it is writing free verse narrative poems inside out and back again. The final performance task is a culminating project which takes place during Unit 3 of every module. Performance tasks are designed to help students synthesize and apply their learning from the module in an engaging and authentic way. Performance tasks are developed using the writing process. They're scaffolded and almost always include peer critique and revision. I'm going to jump down right now to page 11 because the curriculum map shows you which standards are formally assessed by each module. And you're going to see that Module 1 doesn't cover every standard. You're going to see that some of the standards that Module 1 does assess are dealt with in other modules as well. Let me go to page 14 here. For example, for writing informative explanatory text to examine a topic and convey ideas, concepts, and information through the selection, organization, and analysis of relevant content. That's something you work with in Module 1, but you also work with it again in Module 3A. You might feel that your students have not fully mastered it in Module 1, but then you can be extra certain that when you get to Module 3A that you address it and you have them achieve the level of mastery that they need to reach. I'm going to jump right down into Module 1 overview right now, which is a really short document, but it sort of gets to the heart of what we're talking about. Okay, I'm going to shrink the window on my left, and I'll expand this a little bit more. In this module, students will develop their ability to read and understand complex text as they consider the challenges of fictional and real refugees. In the first unit, students will begin Inside Out and Back Again by Tina Lai, analyzing how critical incidents reveal the dynamic nature of the main character Ha, a 10-year-old Vietnamese girl whose family is deciding whether to flee during the fall of Saigon. The novel, poignantly told in free verse, will challenge students to consider the impact of specific word choice on tone and meaning. Students will build their ability to infer and analyze text, both in discussion and through writing. They then will read informational text to learn more about the history of war in Vietnam and the specific historical context of Ha's family's struggle during the fall of Saigon. In Unit 2, students will build knowledge about refugees' search for a place to call home. They will read informational texts that convey universal themes of refugees' experiences across various times and cultures as they flee and find home. As they continue to move through the novel, they will focus on how particular incidents move the story forward and reveal aspects of Ha's character. Unit 2 culminates in an activity in which students examine how the universal refugee experience causes the refugee's life to be turned inside out and eventually return back again. In Unit 3, having finished the novel, students will reread critical incidents while also working in research groups to study the experiences of refugees from one of several cultures. Students will use this knowledge to write 2 free verse narrative poems that capture the universal refugee experience. Students will reread poems from the novel as mentor texts. I hope this introduction has been useful, and I hope you have a good experience working with this module. Thank you very much.